everybody. Welcome. Thanks so much for coming out this evening. I am delighted to be here with you. And if you have a moment, if you would head on over into the chat box and share your name, and if you'd like to share where you're tuning in from, I always love to know. And then also, I'm just going to adjust this ring light. If you have a mid-year intention, it's always fun to hear kind of what is top of mind for people as we approach this brand new half of the year. It's funny to think that we are already halfway over. Like, how did that happen? So, anyway, you'll also want to have a journal, a pen, definitely a cup of tea or whatever you may be drinking this evening to please have that handy because I'll be sharing some ideas and we'll be journaling and all sorts of good things. So, you'll also kind of want to have your journal nearby. All right. So, again, a big, big welcome. And hello, I see people popping into the chat. We've got Miss Carol from Montreal. Bonsoir, Carol. Miss Cindy from Montana. My intention this year is to create a healthy lifestyle. We love that. Fully support that, of course. Sorry, I'm just adjusting. Okay, this darn ring light. And then also we have Miss Angela from Southern Illinois. Intention this year is to break unhealthy relationship patterns, behavior, always a good one. Hi, Miss Linda Wilson. Happens to be my mother. She's always a little biased. I love Mama. Hello. And her intention is to slow down as she heads off on an Alaskan cruise this week and lives in Fletcher, Oklahoma. Hello, Miss Jane from Alberta. Intention is to learn to say no more, or at least pause before saying yes. That's my girl. Jane, that's so, so huge. And also the importance of recognizing what I really like about what you said, at least pausing before you say yes. Tammy from Maine, intend to start a new life. Okay, Tammy. Well, that's not just like I would like to eat more fruits. It's like you're like, start a new life. I love that. Good for you. Shizuka from Tokyo, Japan, who happens to be, I think it's your birthday today because you are a day ahead, right, Miss Shizuka? So happy birthday to my lovely Shizuka from Tokyo. And I think you're 12 hours ahead. Thank you for being here. Hi, Miss Allison. Helena, Montana, intention is to find my focus. I hope that this will be helpful for you guys tonight as we do think about finding our focus and really exploring ways to kind of realign, whenever it gets to be this time of the year where it's like, oh, here we are, kind of mid-year, and how are things going? How are things feeling? So thank you for being here. We have Zoom user from Florida. Oh, it's Nicole, my lovely Nicole, thinking of an intention. And do not worry if you don't have one. That's totally fine. Not everyone shows up to events on a Sunday night with an intention. But my hope is that this can be a bit of a mid-year reset for many of you as we just kind of hit the pause button. And, many of us are through the 4th of July holiday. So, it's like we're just kind of slowly getting back into the groove of things. And so I hope that this will help you all just feel a bit more connected to what were those intentions that I set and that I had for myself at the beginning of the year. All right, we have Miss Kathy from Chicago also seeking a focus. I hope that will come up for you during this event, Miss Kathy. Also, with regard to the journaling prompts, that's kind of why I create them to help us kind of regain a sense of focus. Miss Linda, what is your mid-year intention? My mid-year intention, Miss Linda, is to reconnect to my creativity practices. So, we just wrapped up the Artist's Way Salon, which was a 12-week program that I led, and we literally had the finale yesterday. And one of the big things, of course, throughout the program, and it's based on this book, which I know many of you probably know and have on your bookshelves. But, the thing with that is really it's like making creativity similar to what we talk about a lot with Tranquility du Jour, making tranquility a practice. So how do we make creativity a practice and just make sure we're interjecting it into everything we do? And one thing today, one way that I did this, Miss Linda, is I went to Kenilworth Water Gardens today, which have these beautiful, lush, it's apparently peak bloom of all these beautiful lotuses. Would it be Lodi? Is that the plural. Anyway, lots of lotuses, and they were absolutely beautiful. And I was like, this is the most magical artist date ever. And it was super spontaneous. So it's just kind of fun whenever we throw those into our world and into our routine, just to kind of shake things up a little bit. Hi, Miss Amber. We missed you yesterday. Intention is to try to get back on track with goals I set this year. And one of the journal prompts that I'm going to share with you in a moment is a lot about this. And so just know that if you're like, I don't remember what my New Year's intention was, that's okay. And it's also quite normal. And so if you have a journal that you've been writing in this year, that's great because you may have it at the beginning. And if not, we'll just start by, creating a new one for you. So thank you for being here, Miss Amber. Hi, Miss Jessica. Always missing tranquil space. Will we miss you? And intention is to find more moments of peace. Beautiful. Hi, Miss Jennifer, Southwest Florida. Intention is to keep the writing consistency developed during the Artist Way 12-week course we just completed and keep the progress going with health goals. Love that. Hi, Michelle from Northern California. Intention is to clear some space in my home and life. All right, you guys, I'm loving these. These are beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing, and feel free to share throughout our time together this evening. I'm going to be sharing a lot kind of with you, and I'm just going to move my clock over here so I can see it nice and easy. And I'm going to be going through, I'll go through the agenda in just a moment, but those of you who just popped in, I just want to remind you to please grab a journal and pen, and then, of course, something yummy to drink so that you have that handy. And definitely, if you don't have a journal and pen nearby, just know that Post-its are also great. All right. So whatever you've got that will allow you to take notes and be present and drop in. And if possible, to also turn your phones to do not disturb, just so that you can really drop into this experience for our time together. So, what we're going to be doing tonight is I'm going to walk you through a little bit about Tranquility du Jour, just so that you know, kind of like, what is this? What's happening here? I like to share my definition of tranquility and the idea behind living a tranquil lifestyle. So, we'll touch on that. We'll get centered because it's always good on a Sunday night to have that opportunity to, again, hit that pause button and realign, reset as we prepare for the week ahead, and try to put the Sunday scaries aside. And Sunday scaries, for anyone who's not familiar, those are the things that comes up for people after the weekend is over and they're about to head into a fresh week. So my hope is this will be the opposite of that for you. We're going to have 4 journal prompts that I really try to cater for mid-year and this reconnection. And a lot of you mentioned as you introduced yourself, focus, right? Wanting to reconnect with what are my intentions for this year. And that's what we're going to be doing here tonight and today. And then I also am going to give a peek inside the Coterie. The doors have just opened and they only open twice a year. They open in January and then they open in July. And then they'll close next Sunday until 2027. So if anyone's interested in learning more about this and a process and a practice and a program that is catered to midlife women, would love to have you join, and I'll share more about that. And then 5 tranquility tips. And I based these on recent Substack posts that I've done. And if you're not sure what Substack is, no worries. I'll kind of walk you through that in a little bit. But I wanted to kind of really weave in very personalized ones. I always love sharing tranquility tips and practices and ideas. And I really wanted to give a little bit more depth into things that I've been talking about over on Substack. And if anyone's not sure kind of what is Substack, Substack is basically I had a blog since 2004. So what is that? Many, many years. It's 22 years. And so basically what I did is I transitioned a couple years ago my blog from my website, KimberlyWilson.com, over onto Substack. And the great thing about Substack is you can follow many, many different blogs and be inspired by a variety of writers. So I hope that you're following me over there. It's KimberlyWilson.substack.com. And anyway, with these tranquility tips, I'm going to be pulling from ideas there. Then just a few kind of ideas of what's on the menu for the rest of the year, what's coming down the pike, and then Q&A, anything that might have come up for you around the journal prompts, the coterie, the tranquility tips, and then we'll touch on those and I'll answer whatever questions I possibly can for you. All right. I'd like to introduce myself too for anyone who may be new to Tranquility du Jour. Again, a big, big welcome. Some of you have been around for 20-ish years since I published my first book, Hip Tranquil Chick, that came out November of 2006. Then, of course, been blogging since '04, and then had a podcast that I started in '05 that I wrapped up last year after 20 years. And that's Tranquility du Jour. And so, kind of my journey here, I share just a little bit about this, but I'm a psychotherapist, so I like to bring in a lot of evidence-based practices and ideas with my work. I'm also an author. I've written 7 books and creator of the Substack that I mentioned. It's called Midlife Musings. And then my passion project is Pigs and Pugs Project, and that is an organization where we donate to pig sanctuaries and pug rescues. And this has been going on for a little over a decade. I live in Washington, D.C., so the nation's capital, and I dream of Paris. I just returned from almost a month there, and it was beautiful until the heat wave, and I came home early because I couldn't take it. And a fifth floor walk up with 100-degree heat and no AC. I thought I was going to just lose it. And so a little bit about kind of where my work has been featured, but really I like to share too my mission is to really help midlife women find more beauty and balance in the everyday. So, again, I'm so happy that you're here with me tonight, and a big welcome to those of you also catching the replay. So, why tranquility? And I like to share this because it's been woven into all of my work over the years, which started with a yoga studio that Jessica mentioned earlier in the intros that was named Tranquil Space. And so, tranquility again has just been woven throughout. And somebody was like, why tranquility? What is that about? And so, the definition, according to Webster's dictionary, is tranquility is the quality of calm. And then, what I've just kind of tacked on and added that I think really ties into what tranquility is all about for me is within a full and meaningful life. So full meaning whatever that looks like for you, and then meaningful just meaning that obviously it is impactful and authentic to you. And so that's the idea of not just calm, right? Because calm sometimes just can happen on a yoga retreat. So what we're seeking is calm even in the chaos of everyday life and Sunday scaries, right? So that's what tranquility is to me. And that's kind of what I try to share in my work with the various teachings that I do and the writings, etc. Okay, so if you're comfortable, I'd like to invite you to just come into just a couple moments of a centering practice, just because you've probably transitioned from whatever was going on in your busy day or your busy weekend to be here. And so I'd like to welcome you by just dropping into our bodies for a moment. Okay. So, whatever this looks like for you, I'm going to sit cross legged. So, I'm just going to sit back in my chair a little bit and sit cross legged, coming to a comfortable seated position. But you can also take your feet and rest them on the floor. And that can be also very grounding, excuse me, to feel the feet on the floor. Okay, so whatever feels best for you. You can lie down if you want to, do legs up the wall, whatever would feel most comfortable. And then coming to a very tall spine. So sitting up nice and tall, shoulders over the hips. And if you'd like, closing the eyes if that feels good to you. If not, you can keep your gaze kind of soft down and out. And let's take a few deep breaths together as you draw the breath in through the nose and fill your belly, ribs, and chest. And exhale as you release the chest, the ribs, and the belly. And picture yourself drawing in a sense of softness, a sense of calm, a sense of ease. And exhaling anything you may be holding on to or that may feel tight or tense that just needs a release. And if it helps, maybe even visualize yourself drawing in kind of lightness, maybe even light, and then exhaling darkness or heaviness. So you're acting as a filter as you draw the breath in, filling the body, and exhaling as you let it go. And if you'd like, you can also bring a hand to your heart and a hand to the belly, which can help to make sure the breath is coming into these areas, but also just that it's kind of a nurturing, calming practice. And hand over the heart does help to calm the nervous system, which we're always on the look for these days. And as you draw the breath in, bring to mind your intention for this season. So, those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, obviously, it is summer. And what's an intention you have? In the Coterie this month, we're exploring joy. So, maybe joy or play or ease. What feels like something you'd like to bring into your life? And then exhaling as you think of what you might want to let go of. One of you mentioned saying yes before really thinking about it. So maybe we want to draw in a sense of boundaries and exhale the sense of putting others before ourselves to the detriment of our well being. Just notice what resonates, what feels top of mind, or really top of heart for you tonight. And take a big inhale through your nose, exhale through the mouth, and let the eyes flutter open. Beautiful. Welcome, everyone. Thank you again for being here tonight. So, we're going to move into 4 journal prompts. So, I encourage you to grab pen and paper, and I'll give you a few moments with each of these prompts. And the first one, and this one is just really a way to get present in this moment. I'm going to be writing along with you. The first one is, what am I noticing mentally, physically, and emotionally as I move into this, the, as I move into this, the second half of the year? Okay, so what am I noticing mentally, physically, and emotionally as I move into this second half of the year? So I'll give you a few moments here. And I also like to preface this by saying there's no right answer. Okay, so just noticing what is coming up for you. What am I noticing mentally, physically, and emotionally as I move into the second half of the year? And take just a few more moments with this one. But what am I noticing mentally? So, headwise, where's your focus? Physically, what's going on with your body? And emotionally, what's going on with your heart as you move into the second half of this year? Great. So, my next question for you, because we always want to look at and focus on, okay, what's going well, right? Because it's so easy to, and you may have even noticed this with the first question of like, mine can go to what's negative. And so, what I want you to think about is for between January 1st, or maybe even a tranquil new year, for those of you who are with me for that, into now, today, July 12th. What's worked well for you so far this year? And take a few more moments here. And if you wanted to come back to this to spend a bit more time, it would be fun to go through your phone and look at photos, from January to now, or even your planner to be able to look at, okay, what have I done, right? What have I experienced? Because sometimes we forget if something isn't like right in front of us or top of mind. But, it could even be not even just things that you've done or experiences you've had, but maybe a shift in prioritization. One of the things that I said is prioritizing joy and less must-dos. So, what would that be for you? So, my third prompt for you is when I picture myself at the end of the year. Okay, so let's think New Year's Eve, 2026. When you picture yourself at the end of the year, what do you hope to see? So, how do you want to, you could even say, how do you want to feel? Where do you want to be? Who do you want to be with? What do you want to be doing? When you picture yourself at the end of this year, what do I hope to see? And for this one too, what could be fun is to do a little art journaling around it, right? So looking for images or graphics or words that represent what you want to see for yourself at the end of the year. And that could be a fun way to kind of pull this together too, or a Pinterest board, or something on Canva, which the slide deck was created on Canva. So, something that would help bring this to light, not even just like pen on paper, but also visually. Okay, so my last question for you, ladies, and gents. I think we have a couple gentlemen joining us, but is my word or theme of 2026 is. So, and don't worry if you're like, I don't remember what I said it was in January. That's okay. So maybe you could even, if you do remember, pick that back up if it still resonates, or see is there something else that you want to come up with, something else that feels top of mind with where you are right now. And then my question for you is how can I keep it top of mind as I move through the rest of the year? So, for example, say your word or theme of the year is spaciousness. Then maybe for you, what you would try to keep top of mind is what was mentioned earlier about setting boundaries and thinking before you say yes to things that maybe you'd rather say no to, or creating margins in your schedule where there's space between appointments and meetings and you know, times when you need to be on. So for those of us who are a bit more introverted, you definitely don't want to pile on a lot of events where you need to be on because you need that recuperation time. Okay, so let me give you a moment here. My word or theme of 2026 is what? And then how can I keep it top of mind as I move through the rest of this year and picturing yourself self again at the end of 2026? Right, so taking just a couple of moments to wrap this up and word or theme. The reason I say theme is because sometimes it's not just one word, right? Maybe it is a theme of pausing before I say yes, right? So, sometimes there is a clear, concise word that fits right in, and other times it's a theme. And again, recognizing that no matter what you said in January, you can keep that, you can keep working with that into the rest of the year, or you can come up with something that just feels more top of mind with what is going on in your life right now, or you could even say top of heart. And then how can that be prioritized? So say, for example, too, if it was your word or theme was creativity or create before consuming, it's like, okay, how can I keep this top of mind as I move through the rest of the year? I have my creativity toolkit on my desk, so it's always at the ready and a reminder to pull it out for those in between moments whenever maybe I would scroll my phone instead. So just an example. Awesome. So those are the four prompts, and I hope they're helpful as you think about yourself right now and you think about your focus and where you're going. Um, Now I want to give you a little preview of the coterie, and then we'll go into my top five tranquility practices for the rest of the year as we think about, going through the rest of the year with a sense of tranquility, ease, a bit more beauty, a bit more intention for midlife. And then we'll wrap up. So that's kind of the trajectory of tonight. So, the Coterie. So, as I mentioned, this is my year-long program. So, we started in January, and then the doors open, obviously, now for mid-year. And it really is this year-long immersion for becoming and reconnecting with who you are now and recognizing even who you are now may not be who you were at the beginning of the year. So we're constantly evolving, and that's what really the coterie is about, is how do we look at these different topics and ideas in order to then also become more aware of how it's resonating with us now at this time in our life. So, a year-long tranquility journey for women in midlife, and this just shows the digital kind of nature of it and who it's for. Really it's about people, it's for people who want tools to find more ease in the everyday, to prioritize mental health, midlife dreams, guided practices and experiences. We have about 22 live gatherings still that we'll have. And then, of course, there's 6 months of replays to enjoy. Also, if you're open to creative play with ephemera, this Saturday is our seasonal soiree, and that's where we come together and we do creative work, art journaling, really kind of setting our intentions for summer. We do this each season. Also, if you want to align your days with your values, one of the things that came up in yesterday's finale of The Artist's Way is somebody recognizing, what really came out for me with The Artist's Way is that my days are not aligning with my values. And so I really want to blend those a little bit better. I want to make sure that my values are top of mind in the way in which I'm living my life. And then also, if you create space to reflect monthly and dive deeper seasonally. And then here's what's involved with it, from creativity retreats to monthly cafes to co-creating sessions where we just get together and we create. We had one on Friday, and people worked on everything from embroidery to handling emails to catching up on coterie lessons to writing, etc. And then again, here is just a list of the variety of things that come with this program: monthly master classes with various topics, biweekly lessons. Tomorrow's releases our first lesson with regard to this month's module, which is joy. And here's what we've covered so far this year: dreams, relationships, style, creativity, mindfulness, and wellness. And these are updated every year. So every year it's a new module that is released. And it's also just based on what I'm studying, what I'm experiencing, and then how it ties in with this particular theme. So right now, clearly, here we are in Joy Month. And glimmers, for anyone who doesn't know, the idea behind glimmers, which are really lovely, is, and it's a term coined by Deb Dana, who's a psychotherapist. They're the opposite of triggers, right? So we all know triggers, those things that rile us up. Like today, going out to the water gardens, we were stuck in some traffic. And you could just, like, people were honking and getting very upset with each other. And it's like, those are triggers. Those are things that happen to us on a regular basis that can upset our nervous system. But a glimmer is something that calms the nervous system. So it might be a sweet text from a friend. It might be bird song. It might be sipping your favorite tea. So that's where we kind of focus with regard to joy. Again, lots of attention to the nervous system. Next month is compassion. And then we do simplicity, mental health. This is a big month. October is Mental Health Awareness Month. Gratitude for November, and then meaning for December. So these are all modules to come. And then the Coterie workbook, I just wanted to give you a peek inside. It says here 200 plus page. It's actually 248 pages. And then I have somebody who's even asked for more because they want more journal writing pages. So here's a peek inside. You get a PDF copy of that, and it has lots of practices, worksheets, etc., all aligned with the modules and our live events. And here's what people have had to say about their experience. We have little badges on people that it was 5 years, now they're in their 6th year. So now we get to update their badges. Others who have returned also, but these are people who have been with me since the very beginning of it. And, the things in which they have shared about how this has affected their experience. And you'll find these all over on the website. Barbara, Deirdre, really sweet things with regard to, again, their experience. Barbara is a returning member. Lynn and Kate, also returning members. And the really important thing is, some people are not able to attend a lot of the live events or really even participate. They tend to they tend to kind of dip in. I like to think of it as a buffet. So I provide a lot, and you get to graze at it and decide what you're most interested in, what resonates most with you. And so even Kate says, helps me find the magic spark in everyday life. It got me through a grueling year of finishing my RN degree. And I graduate next week and can't wait to see what midlife brings. And so it's fun to see people's evolution throughout the program. Now, here's what we have that's left this year that is live. So we have a live onboarding for new members, these seasonal soirees, a creativity retreat, Coterie Cafe, and this is where we get together monthly and we really just kind of chat and talk about the month's module, takeaways, etc. We have bonus workshops, which range from all sorts of things from Age Like a Yogi, which is a wellness workshop, to also watercolor, to a Jazz 101 class with my private teacher. Reading rooms, we get together and we read, and then monthly co-creating. And this is many people's favorite part, which is we just get together and again, we create. We work on something together. It's like an accountability buddy. And I think the kids call it body doubling, right? So it's just this accountability of like, hey, we're all here, we're all on Zoom, we're all doing our own thing. And then we're reporting back to see how it goes. And it's amazing what we get done during these times. So this is just a peek. There's like 18 bonuses. So I just put these top two because these were brand new this year. So one, I did a Paris private salon while I was over in Paris last month. So you get the replay for that. And then I'm creating a new midlife wellness masterclass. So that's one of the bonuses. But again, there's 18 bonuses included with this. In Among the bonuses are 4 digital courses that I've created. One is the TDJ tenets. So these are the 5 tenets that align with the Tranquility du Jour lifestyle. I released this in, I think, 2000. And so this is the whole course for it. And of course, it comes with workbooks and audio and all sorts of fun things. Mental health. So this is a really intense digital course, meaning intense as in there's a lot of great material, not intense as in heavy or hard. But again, this is a really great one. And it's all about like deepening coping skills around mental health. The other one is Year of Tranquility, and this is based on my last book, Year of Tranquility, but it takes you through everything within Year of Tranquility, again, with audio lessons and master classes, etc. Then the last one, this was the more recent one that I did, which is so fun, is La Vie Parisienne. And it's all about kind of living the Parisian lifestyle. I've been obsessed with Paris for years, and this is kind of just pulling that together in a way of like, what does it even mean to live a Parisian lifestyle? And it's not about going to Paris. There are some tips for Paris, but this is really more about like, how do I bring what so many people are drawn to with regard to the Parisian lifestyle into my everyday? And so again, there's 20 plus live events still remaining, including this Saturday's seasonal soiree, which is a 2-hour virtual retreat. And then again, doors close on next Sunday. And then there's 2 options for payment. There's $9.97 for the full thing. And then there's also payment plans that allow you to also get 2 coaching sessions. And so a little bit is here for you. And then, of course, if you need a custom payment plan, then you can reach out to my assistant, Samantha, hello@kimberlywilson.com, and she'll be happy to help you and support you in this process. Oh, and it does come with 2 additional bonuses I wanted to mention. One is a live onboarding. So it's kind of like a private tea date where Samantha and I kind of walk you through everything because there's a lot of stuff in the back end that is really fun. We have a private community, which is on Circle, and that just allows you to get all your lessons, all the updates, community forum. We have one Coterina who every other week posts, "What are you reading?" And people are very active on that with sharing what they're reading. And I do a weekend wish list, like, what are you up to this weekend? So there's a lot on there community wise, which is really, really lovely. And then, so there's the live onboarding that's going to happen right before our cafe, which is next Friday. And then there's also, you get a Coterie t-shirt and or tote bag, organic cotton of your choice. So, and those do ship internationally. So those are just a couple of bonuses that are offered until doors close next Sunday. Okay, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put over in the chat box or ask during Q&A at the end, and I'm happy to answer. And we also have a video over on YouTube where Melanie, who is a longtime community member, talks about her experience within the Coterie and why she returns. So if you do have any questions about it, happy to answer. Okay, so our mid-year tranquility tips. So I had to print these out because there's so much I wanted to share with these. And I again wove them into the essays that I've published recently over on Substack. So again, if you're curious and you're not familiar, it's kimberlywilson.substack.com. And it really is where I post. Let's see, I typically will do a midlife musings post that is open, that's public. And then I do a life lately post, which is like, okay, what am I reading, consuming, loving, noticing, navigating? So it's like very personal based on over the past month. And then there's a lot of private posts too for paid subscribers, which I'll talk a little bit about in a moment. But these have all been public essays that I'm pulling in for the mid-year tranquility tips. And again, I have 5 of them for you. So have your pen and paper handy if you're a note taker. I'm a note taker. If you're not, that's okay too. You can just absorb. So number one is swing more. Swing, SWING, which may sound random, but this week I published a post about that was all about a beautiful experience I had on my birthday, which was last week. I turned 53, and my treat, my birthday gift was I walked into red carpet with like candles that led to like this handmade swing. I love to swing. I will always stop at a park. Even yesterday, I stopped at a park, and as we were driving back from the water gardens today, I was like, I'm like, there's swings. There's a swing set. But I just love to swing. Since a child, I've loved to swing. So anyway, he created this beautiful swing in the middle of his living room with like wood, like rope, and then put these gorgeous like flowers on the rope. It's just like the sweetest. And so, for me, like one of the things that I have here is like favorite birthday surprises this year was a handmade wooden swing hanging right in the living room. Partner built it because he knows I'll stop for just one swing whenever I pass a playground. So it made me wonder, what's your swing? Okay, so this is what was coming up for me and whenever I say that is what's the small thing that instantly reconnects you with yourself? Like love swings. I also like love turtles. I've been obsessed with turtles since I was a child. And today at the water garden saw all these turtles, three stacked on top of one another, sunning on a wooden log. That also brings me joy. So again, what's the small thing for you that instantly reconnects you with yourself? And I'm just looking down because I've got my notes here. So perhaps it's stopping to pet every dog you pass. Some of you probably do that. Swinging at a neighborhood playground. In case you don't have a swing in your living room, buying fresh flowers at the market, dancing while making dinner, coloring with nice markers, wandering a bookstore with no agenda, listening to vinyl records, taking a slow bike ride, browsing an antique shop, or sitting in the sun for 10 minutes. So, my invitation for you with number one being swing more is do one delightfully unnecessary thing this week. So again, what is your swing? What is the thing that it just like lights you up and it allows you to instantly reconnect with yourself and maybe even reconnect with your childhood in a way? And that's another thing that ballet does for me also. So number one is swing more. Number two, romanticize ordinary moments. So this is definitely something that I think is done so beautifully in Paris, and that I'm so drawn to Paris because of is the kind of like the romance everywhere. And I don't mean romance as in like a physical connection with another being, but just the beauty. Like even this cup of tea that is on this image is just stunning. What's really lovely is if you get a rose latte, sometimes they'll even put rose petals on top, and you're like drinking rose petals. But so people often ask me what makes Paris feel so magical. And it's not that every day is extraordinary, but it's that ordinary moments are treated as though they matter. So this week, choose one routine and make it a little more beautiful. So here are a few examples. Drink tea from your favorite cup instead of a chipped mug. Light a candle before answering emails. Buy yourself flowers just because. Eat lunch outside instead of at your desk. Put cloth napkins on the table, even if you're dining alone. Walk the longer route home. Open the windows while making breakfast. Wear the outfit you've been saving, even if you're not going anywhere. Reread a chapter before bed instead of scrolling, and then play jazz while tidying the kitchen. So I have here tranquility often arrives when we stop waiting for special occasions, right? So we pull out the things that are beautiful that help us romanticize the everyday and recognize it doesn't have to be a special occasion. We can make every day a special occasion. Number three, ask what wants to linger. So this was inspired by my birthday reflection. So on June 30th, I wrote a 53 tiny truths, which also ties into number four. But this birthday, this is one of the big things. I noticed I wasn't interested in making big declarations about the year ahead. I typically do. I remember a couple years ago, I was like, by this time next year, I will be doing pirouettes on point, right? So it's like big declarations. That's not, this year I didn't have any of that. It was more about just enjoying and savoring. So, what wants to linger is number three in the question for you. So, instead of making big declarations, I asked myself what I wanted to pay attention to, what wants to linger. So, maybe for you, it could be a creative project you can't stop thinking about. So, what is something that you're like, I really want to do this? One of the people in the Artist Way Salon who's with us tonight, she mentioned that she loves reading. She will read sometimes two books a week. But then she was like, I think I'm reading sometimes to avoid actually writing myself. So just recognizing, is there a creative project in your mind that you really can't stop thinking about that's been on the back burner that maybe you want to pull out? So again, what's lingering? Maybe a trip you've been postponing, a friendship you'd like to deepen, ballet, painting, or writing, a desire to simplify, which I definitely feel like I heard in the beginning when we were introducing ourselves, is, boundaries, wanting to say no more often, more rest. And if you haven't heard about French Sundays, I wrote about it over on Instagram last month. And the idea with French Sundays, there was an article in Vogue, I think, that came out in February that I came across, and I happened to be in Paris at that time, and it was snowing that morning when I read the article, and I was lingering in bed for a long period. I mean, till maybe noon. I was like, this is amazing. But the idea of French Sundays is it's not about like, oh, let me meal prep, let me get prepared for the week ahead. It's like, no, let me just savor and slow down. So I really love this idea of more rest. And especially as we get older, I've definitely found we need it. And then also sleep can be interrupted a bit. And so how do we make sure we're getting the rest that we need? Maybe it's a career shift. Maybe it's learning a new language, loving my Duolingo, spending more time in nature, and finally saying no to something or someone that's draining you. So instead of asking, what should I do? Ask, what's asking for my attention? Okay, so number three, what wants to linger? What wants my attention? Number four, collect tiny truths. And again, this is inspired by my post over on Substack on my birthday, which was 53 tiny truths. So we often think transformation comes from like some huge breakthrough, right? But I found it usually arrives through tiny truths that we may notice over time. And you'll see I listed 53 of them. And if you haven't done something like that for your birthday, you might find it fun. You don't need to do, the number that you are, but maybe what are five tiny truths that are coming up for me as I navigate this time in my life? So maybe today's truth is I need more sleep than I thought. Fresh flowers genuinely lift my mood. My body relaxes when I walk instead of rush. I don't actually miss saying yes to everything. That ties in beautifully with what we spoke about earlier. Solitude isn't loneliness. I feel happier after creating something. Tea tastes better when I sit down to drink it. My intuition knew before my mind caught up. I'm becoming more myself, not less. And small rituals change the tone of my day. Small rituals, everything. So tiny truths become a life philosophy, one realization at a time. So, what are your tiny truths right now? What's bubbling up for you? What are you noticing? How are you shifting? How are you growing, evolving, changing? And then number five, this is the very last one, but look for beauty first. And when I say beauty, I'm not talking makeup. So I always like to clarify that in case people are like, what do you mean? So look for beauty first. So and this is inspired also by Paris essays, but before checking email, opening your to-do list, before the day tells you who to be, spend a little bit of time looking for beauty and noticing. And again, it could be glimmers, like looking for what are the things around you that help to ease the nervous system, right, versus trigger and agitate it. So maybe you'll notice morning light kind of spilling onto the floor, steam rising from your tea, birds outside your window, rain tapping the glass, the way your dog greets you, flowers blooming on your walk, beautiful architecture in your neighborhood, a favorite piece of art in your home. I've got some art. It's actually right here. Let me just show you. This was created by an orangutan at the Center for Great Apes in Florida. And it's one of my favorite pieces of art. And it's just like little finger. And it looks like leopard print to me. So I just love it. So, noticing these sorts of things that surround you. Music playing softly in the background. Again, I know many people are into analog and like doing more of the vinyl now, which is so lovely. And then the quiet before the rest of the world wakes up. That's one of the beautiful things that I love whenever I am spending time in Paris is that, I have the morning before, of course, like the East Coast is waking up. And so it's amazing, how much lighter you feel when your inbox isn't flooded with people needing things or having questions or what have you, because like everyone's sleeping. So, the quiet before the rest of the world wakes up can be really, really powerful. So, again, here, beauty isn't something we earn after the work is finished. It's one of the things that gives us energy and perspective to begin. So, those are my five tranquility tips. I'll just summarize them once more. Swing more, or whatever your version might be. Romanticize ordinary moments. Ask yourself what wants to linger here. 4, collect tiny truths. And 5, look for beauty first. So, and again, here, I just wanted to kind of tie this up by saying tranquility isn't something we achieve once and for all, right? So, even with all the work that we do in the coterie or the modules, it's not like, okay, mindfulness check, got it. Creativity check, got it. Tranquility check, got it. These are things that we return to again and again through our small intentional choices. And that ties in with what I asked with prompt number 4 with your theme or word of the year. What are the choices, the daily decisions you can make that will lead you in that direction of what it is you want more of in your life? And here's just a few things on the Tranquility menu I wanted to mention. So here's the Substack to just give you an idea of what it looks like. And there's the swing. So you can kind of see, I was so happy. Balloons everywhere. You can see in the background a little Kimberly pink sign. I was like, did you shop in like the little girl section, for all of this? So it was very sweet and fun. And then there's the 53 tiny truths and just a variety of things. And you'll see there's quite a few of them that look locked, and that just means they're private posts from the private collection, and that's for paid subscribers, which is $9 a month or $99 a year. And here's just a subscription plan for that for anyone who may be interested. If you do the atelier, you actually get your choice of a digital course also. I wanted to mention too, for anyone who's not familiar, I haven't updated these in like a year and a half, but I have over on YouTube, youtube.com/Tranquility du Jour, 60 plus videos, including a 4-part midlife series that's free. So, for you to enjoy, consume at your leisure. So please know that those are there and waiting for you. And I hope to add more in the not so distant future. Also, last fall, I released a new and updated day book. So anyone who's interested in a planner, it's a dateless planner. So you can start at any time. That also has lots of tips and tools for daily rituals to find more tranquility. Seasonal soirees. So, of course, on next Saturday, the summer one is included in the Coterie. So it's not open to the public, but the fall one is open to the public. So, for anyone who is interested, I'll send more information about that later. The Artist's Way, which we just ended a 12-week Artist's Way salon, which is so lovely. I credit this book, The Artist's Way, with the launch of my career. So I was working as a paralegal at a law firm many, many years ago, 1999, and decided I wanted more in my life. And I took a yoga teacher training, and then I went through this book, The Artist's Way. Then I opened up my living room to yogis just by posting flyers around the neighborhood. And then that just evolved into the work that I do now. And then my book in progress, which I continue working on, which is a lot about finding tranquility in midlife and also memoir-esque. And then a reminder that the various things that we support, meaning that are supported, when I say we, I mean the work that we do together with Tranquility du Jour, is Pigs and Pugs Project, 1% for the Planet, I'm a member, and then Borneo Orangutan Survival, which I went to Borneo a couple years ago and I got to see all the beautiful orangutans there that are living their best lives. So the just in closing, check out kimberlywilson.com/coterie for more on this program. And I'll send, a link to it in the wrap up with the replay. And want to open it up now for any questions and or takeaways. I'd love to know, do you have a favorite five of the five tranquility tips? Because I would love to hear. And also, did anything come up for you along the idea with those four journal prompts? So curious. And then, so we have just a few minutes left, and let me just stop the sharing and I'll head on over and I get to see your beautiful faces. But if there is anything that you have a question about or you would like to share, I am all ears and happy to answer any questions that you might have, particularly Coterie related, these five tranquility practices. Again, swing more. Whatever your kind of version of swinging might be, romanticize ordinary moments, what wants to linger, collect tiny truths, and look for beauty first. And then, of course, the four journal prompts. So, any questions or any thoughts or takeaways, feel free to put them over into the chat box. Everyone is muted, so I can't ask you to unmute, unfortunately, but I would love to hear. And it's so nice to see because I couldn't see you guys, so now I can see your beautiful faces. Those of you who have the camera on, so thank you. It's always nice to know who is here. Thank you. Look at your sweet faces. Hi, Shizuka. Happy birthday, sweetie. Hi, Jennifer, Amber, Kathy, Cindy, Carol, Miss Linda. Hi, Patty. Yeah, thank you guys so much for being here tonight. Okay, let me go into the chat box again. Any questions or any comments? I would, love to know if there's a particular tranquility tip or something that came up for you in the journal prompt. And those of you who were seeking more focus, I hope that you got that. I love the idea of the tiny truths list, and I'm so glad I'm not the only person who gets excited by swings. And Jane, what's so funny is, the swings at a typical swing set playground, they're rubber and they're like a semicircle. And I've just found that that's hard on my hip after a hip replacement because it gives pressure. So what's great about this little wooden swing that he made me is there's no pressure, right? It's like it's flat. And so I can swing and not have my hip. And also, let's be honest, those swings are made for children, so they're tiny. But yeah, so I'm glad you too love to swing. I also love carousels. I never pass up a carousel. Miss Linda, small rituals, and one could be sitting down with a matcha latte. Absolutely. Love me some matcha latte. Jane, thank you so much for a lovely, thought-provoking hour. Thank you so much for being here. Nydia, I love all but five is fave. Look for beauty first. Yes, and right, because it is something where we often will look for what's wrong, what's missing. And so by training ourselves to look for beauty first, it can be very powerful. Swing more really resonated with me. I related to swing in more of a jazz sense. Oh, I like that. Yes, I like that, Kathy. Yes. Those swings do squash you. Again, Jane, I just realized, I'm like, well, because they're made for children, right? But Shizuka, I'd like to make my tiny truths list on my birthday. Thank you for the lovely inspiration. Oh, I would love to see your tiny truths list, Miss Shizuka. Thanks for tuning in from freaking Japan. Beach is my happy place, says Jennifer. Reset always, even if it's 10 minutes. I've been away too long as it's hot in Southwest Florida, but Tuesday I've decided to stop after work. Beautiful. Cindy, thanks can really always inspire me. Thank you, Cindy. And I hope that your move has gone smooth and that you're loving your new location or permanent location. Tracy, such a joy as always to be in your presence. Thank you, Tracy. I'm always grateful for your thoughtful tips, gentle inspiration, and beautiful ideas. Thank you for helping me feel centered as I move into the second half of the year. My intention is to finally send your overdue birthday card via snail mail. Tracy, I love you. Thank you. That's very, very sweet. Amber, I like the idea of what's lingering. I just bought a Native American flute and I'm trying to learn to play it. I love the sound of the instrument and I finally bought one and we'll see what happens. That is so exciting, Amber. I'm so proud of you. I can't wait to hear how that unfolds. Darlene, love the mid-year tranquility tips, all of them. Looking forward to adding them. Many thanks for reminders, inspiration, all the lovely ideas. Thank you, Darlene. Thanks for being here with us tonight. And Cindy, I finally settled into my Montana home. We love that. I love that for you, Cindy. All right, ladies. Well, thank you so much for being here. It is 8 o'clock, and I don't want to keep you any longer, but I want to say again a big thank you for being here. If you have any questions about the coterie, let me know. Would love to have you. I hope you can incorporate these 5 tranquility tips as you move into the second half of the year and keep me posted on your journey. It's an honor to be here with you and to be part of your journey. So thank you. Thank you for sharing in mine. All right, loves. Beautiful week ahead. And thank you again for being part of my life. Bye bye.